Okay. All right. Is everybody with me? All righty. Okay. We're going to look today at the differences between Excel 2013 and 2010. Just to kind of give you a little background on myself and my experiences with Excel. I've been an Excel disciple since 2002. I took CIS 146 under Mr. Brant Ross. And those of you who know Mr. Ross know that that was not an easy task, even though I thought I knew a lot about computers. My previous exposure to spreadsheets was Lotus 123, and it was the most nightmarish thing you will ever try to work with. That was early in my computer experience. We're going to look at some of the differences between 2010 and 2013. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that because it's very similar to what Wanda shared with us last week. Most of the applications, especially Word and Excel, they have very similar elements and the look is very similar. The first thing we're going to look at is the screen. As you can see, the screen in 2013, it's a lot cleaner, not a lot of color, not a lot of fuss, but basically it is pretty much the same. One of the most notable changes to me was down at the bottom where you see the circles, the sheet where you add sheets is just a little bit different. You can just, to add a sheet, you'll just click on that plus whatever you call it right there. Most of you should have a copy of this reference card. I stuck it in here so we could kind of go over kind of quickly the elements of the screen. You've got your tab file. In Excel, this bar right here that I've highlighted, that's your formula bar. And we're going to look at how the formula bar plays into everything and how formulas work just a little later on. Your active cell is highlighted right here, and it also, whatever cell that you're in that's active, shows right here in the name box. Of course, you have rows and columns, and then your scroll bars. Your worksheet tabs, of course, show up at the bottom. The File tab is a little different. Wanda touched on that last week with Word. It's the same thing in Excel. It's not that much different, but for some reason I had more trouble adjusting to this than I think anything that I've had. You know how when your brain gets used to just automatically doing things and somebody throws you a little bit different curveball, then that makes, things difficult for you for a little while. I still hunt for things. When you open a file, you have your recent, the workbooks that you've been working on recently. I really like that. Of course, that was an element of 2010 that I liked. And then you can also, to open your other files, you go to computer. And this is where I always have to hunt for my documents. And to me, my documents should be up here so that it's the first thing you see. But, that's not my call. All right. All right, technical difficulties. Okay. Now, the Insert tab probably went through the most changes to me. In looks, of course, you know, they took away the blue. They made it, to me, it's just a fresher, cleaner look. One of the major differences is they did away with the Microsoft Clip Organizer. There's no more clip art. You go straight, you have this online pictures feature that takes you out to the internet, and it automatically defaults to Bing, and it gives you a lot of options, but I'm not a huge fan of it. I've been going out for months and grabbing my clip art and stuff like that, you know, directly. Well, I go through Bing a lot of times, but this just is just not as, to me, you don't get as good a search. You know, you don't get as good images. Of course, your pictures that you have already on your hard drive, you can access those just like you always have through that option. Charts, they kind of integrated, they had several kind of charts, and they integrated some of them. The pyramid and the cone chart are now in the column and bar shaped charts. There's a recommended charts button to help you decide what chart that would better fit your data. Now, charts is something I don't know a whole lot about, but I managed to figure out a couple so that we could look at them. Well, fine. Okay. All right, can everybody see that? Okay. Now, I played a little Family Feud here, and I surveyed 100 people. And right here is my data. This is the data. And I surveyed these 100 people, and I got their first basic color, their favorite basic color. And you can see my choices here, blue, green, yellow, and red, and how many people here. And then I did a chart that shows, you know, it's a pie, this is called a pie chart. And then I also asked the second basic color choice, their favorite, out of orange, purple, brown, and black. And, you know, we had a definite winner here with black, and I did a different kind of chart there. And these are just very simple charts. This is a bar chart here. But some of the things that you can do, I want to show you up here in chart design. There's several different ways that you can take this one pie chart and do it. And you take your, let me show you, let me go back to this. Right here, if you'll notice right here up in your formula bar, I have, when you click on this right here, this is what pops up in your formula bar. And it's the sum of B5 through B8. It's that right there. And that's, the chart pulls the data from this right here. I don't know why. Sometimes this will work right and sometimes it won't. Okay, now back to this. All right, when you click on this chart, and you click on the pie itself. Up here at in the formula bar, you see where it pulled the data in, and it pulled in blue, green, yellow, and red, and then it pulled in the numbers. Now right here you can't see anything, you can't see percentages, but if you go up here and you change this chart to this particular chart, you can see the percentages: 32, 25, 23, and 20. Now, you can, the way I got this to do the right colors, you just simply do it by fill, the fill option. You can change it to any color you want to. You can pull your pie apart and do, you know, for emphasis. And there's a lot of different things, but this new recommended charting thing, that's really going to be good for those of you that use charts. Now this chart is a bar chart, and of course when you go up here to design, you see they've given you a whole lot of options up here. You can change it to look, you know, several different ways. When you click on here, you can change your fill to everything's this color or everything's that color, or then you can choose just the individual bar and make it any color you want to, and that's what I did there. Okay, everybody with me? Okay, let's look at some other files that I have created over the years with Excel. This is a tuition and fee schedule that I have in the business office, and I set it up years ago, and all I have to do basically is change the numbers in this first row right here, and everything else, the numbers change. Every bit of it changes in one quick, you know, they'll swoop, I think is how you say that. And I had my footer set up to where it automatically puts the date that I printed it, so that, you know, I can look and say, well, I printed this on 2/3/2015, and if I find one stuck somewhere else and I see that it was not, you know, that the date was earlier or later, I know that I need to figure out which one's the latest one. Now, looking at the functions used in this file, you'll see that I've done, you know, drawn some lines. Over here on G5, you see where the blinking light is right here, the blinking arrow. G5 is right here. You see G and then 5. And what I have represented here is the sum of B5 through F5, which is this through this. Then, okay, that gets my first row. Then on B6, you have, all I had to do was add B5, sorry, B5 plus basically B5 again, and you write this formula right here. You write that right there. That is an absolute reference, so it stays the same throughout the whole row. And later on, I'm going to show you how to make it how to pull it down. All right, let's go on. Now this is another form I did. This is my petty cash form. And I start with $100. So every time that I get low and I ask for, you know, reimbursement to my petty cash fund, this is the 187 was the balance I had, and then I got in some funds, 98.13, and that adds up to 100. And then from there, you see again, there's your formula up here. This 100 is C5 and E4. And now you notice I did not really put a plus sign there, but basically it does add those two together. Now to start subtracting from that, y'all, I'm sorry, I set up a formula, and you'll see it right here. This 88 is represented as a sum of E5, which is this right here, minus C6. And you can see down below in color how that works. So it adds and subtracts very well. Uh-oh. Now, when I created a fake gradebook, and I had Mr. Turner double check me, because I'm not a classroom teacher, so I wanted to make sure that I didn't look, you know, silly in front of my peers here. But basically, I set up a simple chart so that we could go through and look at how a gradebook works in Excel. And there were 4 tests, and the total weight of that's 50%, and then 25 for your midterm, 25 for your final. Now we have a cumulative average, and those of you who work off of a point system, you would have to, you know, rework this accordingly. But then at the end of the semester, you have your weighted average out here. And this, you know, on this particular person, Juliet Barnes, she's a singer in Nashville, and she she got 33 points for her test, 22 for her midterm, and 19 for her final, for a total of 73.75. And you can see that weighting it made the cumulative average and the semester average a little different to her advantage. And so I also set up did a function that automatically converts this, the 73.75, to a letter grade. Now let's look at it live. Okay, now this group of people, all right, let's look at this. I went ahead and cheated a little bit. Okay, I'm going to dump their first 2 test grades into our mix. Now, this right here is this right here. And what that is the sum of these 4 divided by 2. Now when you start adding tests and midterms and that sort of thing, you have to go in and manually change this number right here. That 2 up there would become at 1.6. And that's just for the cumulative average. Now, one of the nice things about Excel is that in setting this up, all I have to do is get this one formula done, then I can grab it right here and pull down, and it loads all the other fields. But it changes it. So you've got C7 through H7 in your formula bar, and so forth and so on. Now, I'm going to dump all the rest of this in here and show you how the weighted grades work. Now this is one of the things that I was talking about. This will need to be changed to 6, and then you can pull it all the way down, and now with all the grades in, that's their cumulative average. You can adjust there. You can adjust the decimal place if you want to. Now this over here, this is your formula for it. It's the sum of these tests right here divided by 4 times 50%. Not a very complicated formula, but it can be. And then this right here, is simply going to be the midterm times 25%. And the same on the final, times 25%. And you see that up in the bar there. Now the letter grade conversion is a little bit, it's a different type. It's not a sum function, it's a lookup function. And that's one of those that you kind of have to sit and study on. But it will convert that, it will convert your semester average to your letter grade, but you have to give it the data down here, and it pulls this data is right up here into that. Y'all still with me? Okay, this is an example right here of just a form that I did in Excel. I did this, it should look familiar to you. It's our leave form. And the reason I did this years ago is Excel sometimes, especially several years ago, Excel was easier to me to convert forms into because you could control the size of your cells and where the line, it just made a cleaner form than a table sometimes does in Word. So I fixed this. I have mine set up. I'm going to show you in a minute. And you can just type into it, and it just makes a cleaner product at the very end. And then you just print it off and turn it in just like you normally would. Now this is my how I keep up with my time. This is my summary, my time summary workbook, and you'll see right here I have several different tabs going on. And these tabs right here, the date tabs. Right now I'm working on February 9th through the 20th, but I have tabs that go back for several years now in this particular workbook. This right here is a blank. Is this right here? It's blank, and every 2 weeks I dump it into a tab and I work from there. I have two types of leave forms set up. One is just like what you saw. The other, I just have it, it's just a OCD quirk of mine. I have it, fixed for like comp or professional development leave, and then I have my annual leave and sick leave set here. This is a form that I set up to several years ago to keep up with our students at New Student Orientation. The color coding gives you a, it kind of helps break up the monotony of, so many columns. And as I get, as they sign up, I put all their information in there and then check off each thing that they need, like their admissions app, their residency, whether they placement tested, whether their financial aid set up. And it just kind of helps me keep that straight. This is probably one of my favorite things to show off. This is a color-coded map, and it was done in Excel. Now, it was extremely tedious, and I worked many, many hours on it. But as you can see, the end result is very, very good. And we give this out at orientation, or if we, have a group that's, giving us some parking issues, or, you just need to show, show somebody where something is, which, we're such a big campus that becomes an issue. But we use this a good bit, like I said, especially for our freshmen. It never ceases to amaze me how they can get lost in this one hall right here, but they do. So y'all, y'all, those of you on the bigger campuses, they get lost here too. So I just sometimes have to, catch myself before I roll my eyes. But anyway, that pretty much does it from my end. Do y'all have any questions? Hello?
That was great, Pam.
Thank you. Very good.
All righty.
Is there another one to call?